Doug trips out on LSD to cope with the traumatic experience with Mr. Dink harassing him. When Doug moved to Bluffington, his new neighbor Mr. Dink immediately took note of him. The first thing he did was invite him to his house just to show him a movie. The next day after hanging out in Lucky Duck Lake, he was washing the mud off of his pork chop. Suddenly Mr. Dink shows up in the bushes with a camera. He claims he's only doing it to get a pic of Meat Toad, but clearly he was trying to get a pic of his young new neighbor. Mr. Dink always inviting Doug to his home to show him every new expensive product, but the most of action he's never seen is so much never know what Mr. Dink is doing with Doug. One would be curious about why a grown man would be constantly inviting a kid to his house, much less lending out expensive equipment that is prone to breaking. Mr. Dink always offers Doug to work on any project of his shed. This shed had a lot of security measures on it. Surely Bluffington isn't that dangerous. Why is this? Perhaps to warn Mr. Dink that if someone, such as Doug's parents, is on the way and he needed to clean up. So that's why Mr. Dink letting in an 11-year-old boy to use his equipment and resources for free? There must have been some sort of payment Doug was making to Mr. Dink. Also, Mr. Dink has no kids. He is the scoutmaster of Doug's Bluff Scout troop. If that wasn't creepy enough, you may recall the episode where Doug Seeker and Mr. Dink get lost on a canoeing trip. Mr. Dink travels into the woods to try and find camp. Eventually, Doug and Skeeter go looking for him. When they find him, he is completely naked under a tree looking down at them. "Sorry, boys, must have lost my pants. Gah. How is that not a red flag?" A confused Doug found peace in curious substance his sister brought home. Though we never truly see Doug receive LSD from Judy's, it was suggested. Judy is adamant about Doug keeping her out of her room. Remember the episode where Doug sneaks into her school? Judy was fucking pissed that Doug went through her stuff at home. Perhaps this is due to Judy discovering that Doug would take a piece or two of bottled blotted paper. But then there was an episode where Doug was home alone and Doug snuck into Judy's room. Why would he be doing that? Surely he has seen her room before. Maybe he was going to get in something, suspectively hallucinogenic drugs. It's important to note that you must take distinctions between Doug's daydreams and his acid trips. Typically, Doug's dreams were more fantastical and has no effect on the world around him. Doug's acid trips tends to be more realistic and show a distorted view of the world around him. In addition, Doug's interactions with his hallucinations are usually observed by the other people who are viewing Doug. Examples of Doug's hallucination are as follows. The episode when Doug gets his new Super Prendendo. Doug's first hallucination is when he was in space. Suddenly he's in this classroom and Miss Wingo says, "Doug, what are you doing?" Doug has absolutely no idea what had happened. Roger says something to him and he becomes pixelated. When Roger says, "What are you staring at, funny?" Also in the episode, Doug is looking at his school paperwork when the island transforms into a spaceship and flies around Doug. Doug's eyes follow his imaginary spaceship. In the episode when Doug goes camping with the Boy Scouts, Roger tells Doug to get some firewood. While he's in the woods and the tree next to him starts moving, the forest all around gets colorful and wavy and Doug hallucinates as seeing green creatures on the ground. Doug falls down and suddenly purple vines are above him. Then everything goes back to normal, with Doug on the ground and Roger dangling some rope above him. Everyone laughs at Doug for freaking out. In the episode with the scary movie, Doug starts his hallucination when he is at the feeder. Suddenly everything is very dark and forbidding looking. The trees have faces and are whispering. Doug looks up at the traffic light, which transforms into a giant spider. Doug ends his trip inside the house, where no scenes of Doug in the normal world returning home. He goes from the feeder straight to his bed. In the above-mentioned episode where Doug is home alone, he sneaks into Judy's room for no apparent reason. Later he goes into the basement. Doug begins hallucinating. All of his items transform into various creatures that threaten Doug. Doug, being terrified of these hallucinations, attacks one with a vacuum. It is revealed that the creature he attacked was simply a mannequin. These are but a few of many hallucinations. And that, my pretties, was Douglas Not So Funny, a Doug creepypasta. My final thoughts on the story. So this is mostly like a Fury creepypasta, I guess you could say. It's not really a lost episode, but I guess it kind of, I guess you could kind of say, it's a Doug creepypasta. I personally remember seeing this pasta narrated by a few other people, and this story, it's quite interesting. I'm definitely going to sit here and say right now, it is definitely a really interesting concept. I personally thought that this was a really good and well made done Fury. It actually is really well done. I personally really do enjoy the concept of it. I mean, the fact that Doug goes through these LSD trips when he's hallucinating due to drugs. Obviously, it does sound really, really messed up, but it kind of really does explain a bit more into detail. And that's something I really generally enjoy with this, is that it really does help a lot with this story. Now, with that being said, and with that being the case, I personally thought that this was a pretty good creepypasta. It's definitely well done, and I personally really enjoyed how well made this one is, and it really does help out with the story. I do like the concept of it. I think it's, really well done. The grammar was really good. I personally appreciate, the grammar being good in that. So it definitely does help out with the story, especially with everything about this. I personally really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a really good story. Personally, I really do have to say that it's a really interesting concept. I mean, this is all very believable. And it is a good Fury, too. I mean, this could be why, Doug has these hallucinations or something, if that makes total sense. But it does seem believable. I can definitely say that. It does seem believable, and it really helps out. So I definitely do have to say it does help out with the story a whole lot. It definitely does. I personally really think that, it's an enjoyable story, and I found it on the Wayback Machine, so I am going to sit here and, I'll leave a link in description, so in case if you guys have not seen this story, I'll leave a link in description so you guys can go check it out. This one's definitely a really interesting concept. I personally thought, it's a really good one. I personally really do have to say. So, there's definitely that. Now, do I recommend this story? Well, it's a really good Fury, so I can definitely say it really helps out with the story, and it's really well done. It's definitely a pretty good concept for a story. I personally really enjoy it. I think it's, really neat and well done. So, with that being the case, and with that being said, I'm going to sit here and say right now that this is just simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with it, that's perfectly fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these creepypastas. This is just simply my own personal thoughts. I'm going to give this story a 10 out of 10. Great Fury. It's really well done. I personally really found it to be really enjoyable, and it definitely is a really good standard story. It's well done. The concept's well made, and everything about it was just amazing. It's really well done. I personally really have to say, to the author of the story, I don't know who you are, but good job with this story. And if I do happen to find out you're the author for the story, I'll be sure to give you proper credit. So I guess with that being the case, and with that being said, I'm going to sit here and say, what did you guys personally think of this creepypasta? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what you have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm Shadow the Lion Queen. Thank you so much for watching today's video, where if you enjoy this channel, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell for notifications to when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. As always, if you guys want to go follow me on Blue Sky, follow me on Twitter, follow me on DeviantArt, as well as follow me on my backup channel known as Ms. Dark Shigo, as links to those will be in the About page section, so you guys can go follow me on there. And as always, roll the outro, because I'm out.
What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video, and I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload, so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Ms. Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, stay pretty.